Alright, Postal 268 here, and today we're going to be cleaning up this cold air intake, because as you can tell, this tube isn't really the most ideal of tubes, since it can introduce a lot of turbulence because of the shape of the walls. The reason I went with this was because I had this, I got off Amazon, and it just wasn't long enough. And what came on the car was this. So, I mean, yeah, it's a shorter distance to travel, but still most of the heat of the engine's gonna get blown up there, and I wanted it down here where it was gonna be more isolated from the heat. I do need to make some sort of like shielding to really catch off this area, but I was going through my spare parts that I have accumulated from, you know, like bulk deals, stuff like that, and I found this tube, and this tube seems to be about the shape and length that I want it to be. I might want to do the 90-degree bend down, I don't know, but for now I'm definitely going to be putting in this tube, and I've already cleaned it out, made sure I got all the dirt and gunk out of it, and yeah, I'm gonna slap this on and see how it looks. Now, if you're thinking about installing a cold air intake or anything like that, it's pretty easy. These little clamps here, you just need a flathead screwdriver, and you just loosen them up and pull them apart. Easy as that. Now, of course, there are a lot more steps to removing your stock intake. So if you still have a stock intake, I would definitely find some videos online about how to remove that. But cold air intake, this stuff's pretty simple, especially with this plastic tube. It just pops right out. Although, if you notice, I had to get some really weird angles. I guess I didn't loosen that enough. Huh. I always thought that held kind of weak. Oops. But yeah, this was just some cheap tubing I picked up in the spur of the moment because I needed something. Oh, there we go. And this can fit many angles, but as you can see, it's not a smooth surface in there. It's not really going to promote very streamlined airflow. And this is just too short. Okay, I've got it in the position I want it. I had to reroute a lot of my custom wiring because it was preventing the intake from sitting as low as it needed to sit so that the hood wouldn't hit it. But now that I've got all that buttoned up, and because I have this small battery, I have a lot more room to work with. I can, you know, that's the whole reason I am redoing this now, is because since I have this small battery situated in place, I have the freedom to do this. Next step is to ensure that you have this tube hooked up here. So you want a tube that goes to the intake. Doesn't quite matter if it's at the beginning or the end, but you do want it to be connected here. I may have to turn the camera off. This hose is going to be very tight. Well, that is not easy. I am seeming to be unable to get it any further than that. I might just slap this little hose back on there. But this is important unless you like exhaust smell. But it reduces emissions. At least put a filter on that if you're not going to hook up the hose. But yeah, all that's left now is to tighten down these screws. Make sure you tighten them down because they hold everything together. And before you comment on the state of this filter, it came on the car. That's just the way it was. But since the previous owners had this elbow here and not this sway bar, for some reason it was turned in a way where the filter was sitting up high, and every time you open and shut the hood, it was smashing down the filter. So I will eventually replace that, but for now it's still doing its job. Let's tighten down this last screw. Oh no, don't move on me. Come on, hold the camera and do this. Oh yeah, now this sensor here on some engines would be important. On my engine it isn't because mine doesn't natively have that sensor. But if yours does, make sure that you hook it up and that it's all working and proper, or your car will not run right. Smells like gas. All right, let's get some revving of the after and see how she sounds. All right, so I just got back from a 2-hour round trip, and everything still seems to be holding up well. And I can say that in drive, I definitely noticed better sound, better throttle response, and slightly more power. You know, not like major improvements, because we did already have the cold air intake, but I mean, just from changing how the tubing was, I was able to notice a difference. And so I think that's a win. And the lesson to be learned here is it's not good enough to just put a cold air intake. You want to also have nice tubing, not the crap I was using. Now I'm still not done. I do want to get the battery a little bit better situated so it's not so smushed here, but I want to put a cover to isolate this even further from the rest of the engine, and hopefully that'll help suck more air in through the tube down there that's supposed to come in. But yeah, success. Held together great and had an improvement. Hopefully this will help improve my fuel economy as well, but I won't know the answer to that until I fuel up again, which I just fueled up at the beginning of my journey. So as soon as I run through this entire tank, I will post whether or not my fuel efficiency has increased, because my engine does run a little rich. So anything to help airflow, theoretically, in my case, should increase fuel economy. But that's it for today. Not a super in-depth video, but hopefully if you had some questions about cold air intakes and you know, you weren't working with a kit like I'm working with just leftover pieces and combinations of other people's things, so kind of having to do it on my own. Hopefully I've answered a few of your questions and done something helpful for you. So thanks for watching. It's been Postal 268.